Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. So today I'm going to be doing a deck review or a card review on Masked Chameleon. So I've been planning on doing a few card reviews recently, especially after I had so much fun making my Thought Ruler Archfiend card review, which may have had more to do with the fact that I was at an airport and I was bored and I had 3 hours to kill, but I actually really enjoyed doing the card reviews. Today I'm going to be talking about Masked Chameleon, and this will be the first of many card reviews in the near future. So in my opinion, Masked Chameleon is the most useful card to come out of Judgment of the Light. Now, I don't mean that it's necessarily the best or the most broken card to come out of Judgment of the Light, but it's definitely got more utility than any of the other cards. And let me go through this list of 20 cards you'll notice up here that have utility with Masked Chameleon. They aren't, all of the cards that can be summoned by Masked Chameleon, but they're just the more interesting ones that I thought of. And you'll just get an idea based on this of how useful Masked Chameleon is. So the first and most important utility Masked Chameleon has is with the Mermail Atlantean deck. Now with Dragoons and Marksmen, Chameleon turns into something pretty crazy. So Atlantean Dragoons has 0 defense, so it can be summoned with Masked Chameleon, of course. And Masked Chameleon can go into that Dragoons and either go for a level 8 Synchro. It gives the deck the power to go into Crazy Box if you want to use those Eradicators or Deck Devies. You could use Deck Devi before, but now you can use Eradicator as well. So you can go into, so you can Synchro, you can go into Crazy Box, you can even go into Abyss Dweller and detach the Dragoons, get the Dragoons' effect, and use Abyss Dweller to stop your opponent's plays for a turn. So pretty great things that you can do with Atlantean Dragoons. Tons of utility with Masked Chameleon. You can even go Masked Chameleon into Dragoons to get more Masked Chameleons with King of the Feral Imp. So with Dragoons, crazy amounts of utility. And just as much with Atlantean Marksman, because with Atlantean Marksman, you can turn Masked Chameleon into a 1-card Gungnir, which if you've got a handful of Atlanteans, or, Mermail, what's-her-face, Abyss Gund, you can do some pretty crazy things with that. So Masked Chameleon with the Mermail deck has crazy synergy. If I were to run it, which I might, I really want to make Mermails now and put Masked Chameleon in it, I'd probably run 2 in the deck. It'll be easy to put those Atlanteans in the graveyard in order to get utility off of that Masked Chameleon. So there are a lot of good things that you can do with the Masked Chameleon in the Mermail deck, but there are even more things to come. So the next thing that has crazy amount of synergy is the Go 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 Zombie deck. Now this is a deck that previously was really just like an Xyz Spam OTK style deck that could go for Shockmaster pretty easily. There are just a lot of things that you could do with this deck, but it was lacking a certain degree of consistency and follow-through. Once you'd used your combos, you were pretty much run clean if your OTK was stopped. But now there is synergy with Masked Chameleon, which means that this deck has more extended plays. So first off, the most important part of this play is the Go 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 Giant and the Go 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 Ghost. Now they both have 0 defense, which means they can both be summoned with Masked Chameleon. Now the thing you can do is use Go 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 Giant to go into Go 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 Ghost, which if you really want to can summon that Go 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 Golem from the graveyard. Way too much Go 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 in here. And then you can overlay them for the King of the Feral Imps, which can then search for your Masked Chameleons. So you've already got your Masked Chameleons set up, and you can do this with a bunch of 1-card combos. You can even use it with Zombie Master, which also happens to have 0 defense, to go into that Go 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 Ghost and get the Go 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 Golem, and either go for this or a Shockmaster, and you still have that utility with Masked Chameleon. So the Go 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 Zombie deck has a lot of utility with Masked Chameleon, particularly since it's so easy for the deck to go into King of the Feral Imps. Since the Shadow Vampire also has 0 defense, you can use Masked Chameleon in the Vampire deck, especially since Zombie Master also happens to have 0 defense. I don't think it has as much utility as it would in other decks, but you can still use it to go into Shadow Vampire and get King Kajango or use some of the other cards that require you to have a vampire on the board. So that is what you can do with zombies. The next deck is agents, specifically TG agents. TG Werewolf also has 0 defense, and the Agent of Creation Venus has 0 defense. So this just gives agents a little bit more utility. You can, once you use up your Venus plays, you aren't totally out of moves, unless you have the Hyperion if you have that Chameleon, because you can use the Venus and you can synchro with the Masked Chameleon. And I am about to check up on something. No, you cannot go into Ancient Sacred Wyvern with it, but it was an interesting thought. But you can go into Black Rose, you can go into Ancient Fairy. There are just a number of things that you can do with that Masked Chameleon once you have Venus in your graveyard. So that's pretty great. Another thing I noticed is it has utility with Photon Thrasher and Battery Man AAA, which may show a little bit of a shift in the Thunder family build. I've always loved to run Photon Thrasher because it's basically another Thunder family monster that doesn't have restrictions on it, on its ability to summon things, since it doesn't have an ability to summon things, and it can't get it's immune to Valor, basically. So I already run the 3 Photon Thrasher in my Thunder family deck, because it does basically the same thing as them. So Photon Thrasher, once you special summon it successfully, can be summoned with Masked Chameleon. And the same is true of Battery Man AAA, which is already beginning to see play in the Thunder family deck, since it can make 4 Shock Masters with a Maw Hunter or a Paw Hunter. And you can also use it to go into 1 card Omegas, which is really powerful in and of itself, but with Masked Chameleon, you can use a Battery Man AAA to get a Battery Man AAA from the graveyard, go for King of the Feral Imps, and then grab your Masked Chameleon from the deck, giving the deck even more level 8 synchro plays than it had before. I don't know how much utility it will have with the deck, but we'll just have to see what people do with it. The next thing that you see is Fog King. Fog King can be used with Atlantean Mermails. It can be used in a number of things, Dragon Plants, etc., because it's a water, which means it has synergy with those cards. And you can use it with Masked Chameleon to go into Star Eater. So that's pretty cool. Mystic Piper and Darksea Rescue are a thing that I'm trying out with Masked Chameleon. I'm already making a Mystic Piper deck, but since both Mystic Piper and Darksea Rescue have 0 defense and are level 1, they both have the same kind of synergy with Masked Chameleon. You can use Piper or Darksea Rescue to go into those level 5 plays like Catastor or Armades, and if you do it with the Darksea Rescue, you get an extra draw off of it, so that Masked Chameleon turns into an inherent +1 with your Darksea Rescue. So that's a pretty cool amount of synergy. There's one card that I definitely forgot to put in this lineup that's definitely a great target for Masked Chameleon, and it has its own special use, which is Swift Scarecrow. So you can use that in your Mystic Piper deck, because it's a level 1 and it adds even more utility to Mystic Piper. But one of the things you can do is once you block that OTK, you can use Masked Chameleon to go into Swift Scarecrow, which will summon a Naturia Beast. So you can get Beast off of Swift Scarecrow with Masked Chameleon. So that's pretty crazy stuff, especially in that Piper deck. I think Piper, Atlantean, Mermails, and Go Zombies are probably the decks with the most synergy with Masked Chameleon. Now there's some other cards that I have in here just because they do have synergy with the card, but just not as much as the other ones. Level Eater, for instance, has 0 defense. Maiden with Eyes of Blue has 0 defense. Unfortunately, she's also a tuner, so there isn't a whole lot that you can do with that, but she can be summoned with Masked Chameleon, so I figured I'd put her in here. Machina Gearframe, or Machina Gearframe, as I usually would call it, also has an interesting amount of synergy with that Masked Chameleon, because in a gadget deck, a lot of the time, it'll be really easy to summon that rank 4 monster, which will get you your King of the Feral Imps. A lot of the time, you're probably going to have Machina Gearframe available to you in some way or another. Which means that you can go for, once again, level 8 synchro plays. You can use it with a Swift Scarecrow in that deck if you really wanted to, and you just have more Earth synergy, which means that you can use it with Redox. There are just a lot of cool things that you can use with Machina Gearframe, with synergy with the Masked Chameleon. Silent Psychic Wizard is another good one since it is also Earth, so there are a lot of utility plays in the Grand Soil Psychic deck with Masked Chameleon, and Silent Psychic Wizard is very easily tutored for that deck because of things like Serene Psychic Witch, so you can almost always guarantee that you're going to have a Silent Psychic Wizard available to you, which means that that Masked Chameleon will almost always be live. Snow, I don't see people using, but it does have 0 defense, and it's an interesting card. And then Flame Tiger and Jelendu, I just figured I'd put in there because they're cards that I've seen play before and might in the future. So those are just a 20-card list of the vast majority, or the vast pool of things that can be done with Masked Chameleon. So in my opinion, this card is absolutely underpriced. Right now, it's very cheap for the amount of utility it has, and pretty soon somebody's going to find a way to abuse it, probably with one of these 2 decks. So I definitely say watch out for it. If you can get a playset now, get a playset now. This is one of those cards where the buzzword comes up. This is an interesting card. That's a lot of what the reviews are saying. This is an interesting card, and that usually means that there's going to be something that abuses it in the future. See what happened with, what's the card I'm thinking of? Xyz Reborn, when people found out that you could summon Ophion from the graveyard with it and stop plays. That Xyz Reborn was one of those cards that people were just saying it's an interesting card. Pinpoint Guard is one of those cards. It hasn't found its abuse yet, but somebody's going to do it. And I definitely get a playset of those Masked Chameleons because this is one of those cards with crazy amounts of potential. So I hope you guys liked the card review. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why. Absolutely hit that comment section below. Tell me if I missed anything. Tell me what deck you think has the most power to abuse Masked Chameleon, and do you think there will be somebody who abuses the card? So thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.